Mr. Trumbauer, I know at this point we allow the administration time to respond or rebut the auditor's recommendation. So the council is scheduled to take a recess until 3 p.m. Is that still an adequate timeline for you, Mr. Trumbauer?
I think Chris Trumbauer, Budget Officer. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the auditor referenced this, but we've been working with her pretty closely over the past few days and weeks. We have a pretty good handle on our rebuttal, so I would be comfortable moving up the start time to 2 p.m. That'll give everyone a chance to grab a little lunch. We can do our last minute tune-ups, but I'm good with 2 o'clock if that suits the council.
Is there any objection to 2 p.m. Time for the budget officer from any of the council members? No? All right. Well, in the interest of time, the council stands in recess until 2 p.m. We will see you back here virtually to hear the second portion of this. All right, we will now hear from the administration's rebuttal to the auditor's recommendation. We'd like to introduce the budget officer, Chris Trumbauer. Sir, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the council. For the record, I'm Chris Trumbauer.
Recording in progress.
As promised, we shaved an hour off the time, and so we're hoping to get you out a little bit early today. In the coming moments, you should be receiving via email a summary sheet and some detail of the comments that I'm about to walk through. We were literally dotting I's and crossing T's until about 30 seconds ago, so you should have that very shortly. I believe it will be coming from Assistant Budget Officer Stephen Turow. So in preamble, let me just say, to tag along to Madam Auditor's comments, this is not quite the end, but it's a significant phase completion of a long process. So in addition to acknowledging my team in the budget office, I do want to give a shout out to department directors and their budget staff, as well as the auditor team. The last couple of weeks have been a lot of long hours, but I think, as you'll see, the process has come to a closer to consensus than I've ever seen. In fact, as a spoiler alert, we're going to agree with about 70% of the auditor's recurring operating recommendations and about 70% of the capital recommendations as well. We used the time over the last week to really hone in on the things that we agreed on and disagreed on. In some cases, there's policy differences. In other cases, just different ways to analyze things come up with a different result. So all in all, when we look at the auditor recommendations, there was $5,440,000 of recurring operating cuts recommended and $7,620,000 one-time cuts recommended in the general fund. There's obviously other ones in the various special funds and utility funds, but we're going to spend most of our attention on the general fund. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start walking through. I'm going to start with the auditor's recommendations on operating budget, and I believe I'm going to follow along with the same order that she had in her presentation. So starting on operating with the Office of Central Services, this is the $40,000 cut for fuel oil. We are okay with that. The next one on Office of Central Services, the $200,000 on contractual services cut. The administration disagrees with this. We provide an analysis that shows that this cut would force a larger backlog to renovations and repairs to county facilities, and we will provide the council with that analysis shortly. So that's one we disagree with. On the next one is supplies and materials in central services. That was a $30,000 cut we're okay with. Bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to move to a larger screen so I can see everything on one. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to move on.
Are you reading from your summary or are you reading from?
I'm reading to the color-coded operating sheet.
Oh, okay.
If if it's helpful, I can share my screen. Is that something the council would prefer? Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, please.
Okay.
Because I don't think
Sorry.
we have that document yet.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd have it, but
Mr. Trumbauer, it was just sent to me. I just added it to the shared folder, and I will bring it up on screen if you'd like me to.
oh yeah, let's do that. That way I'm
Thank
not
you.
talking and driving at the same time, because that can get ugly. Okay, so that's the summary sheet. And I went through that a little bit. So I believe if you move on, you'll start to see our color-coded recommendations. Yes, okay. As you can see, we went through great care to make it large enough print that you could read. But hopefully you all can use the Zoom function. It is a lot of information, but this will at least allow you to track with what I'm talking about. Okay, so we left off on central services. We're now going to start on the Office of Finance non-departmental. The first one was a lease rate adjustment of $900,000. We agree with the auditor's comments there. The next one is the $9.2 million of other interfund reimbursement. So this is an accurate assessment, but we would advise the council that unless you have a competing need where you need one-time funds to pay for something else, we would prefer that you keep this funding in the self-insurance fund. There's a lot of fluctuation with this fund from year to year, and although it is an unusually large fund balance, that money will eventually get spent and it will help insulate us against a future drawdown. So we would acknowledge that it's a good cut, but say keep it in the self-insurance fund. It's not doing any harm there. Councilwoman Rodvian, do you have a question?
Yeah, I think you started describing that, you know, your position there before I was able to find my place. I was having a little difficulty getting into Zoom so I could read it. So could you tell us where exactly you are in the document?
We're on the first yellow row. So if you look at what's up on the screen now, the yellow row is Office of Finance non-departmental. It's recommending a $9.2 million total cut. So we are okay with the recurring cut, but we would advise not taking the 6.5 million of one time.
Okay, so just to clarify, green means you're okay with the cut, red means you oppose the cut, yellow means in part.
Yes, we've invented this totally unique color coding system that happens to coincide with stoplights. We found that to be very serendipitous.
Thank you, and I apologize, I don't remember this from before, but now.
Well, we
it's
try
coming
and
back.
make everything better every year, and this is our newest enhancement. So, okay, so is everyone straight on that? The recurring cut, 2.68 million, we're okay with that, but the one-time cut, we would advise the council leave it in place unless there's a burning desire to do something with one-time fund. All right, so we're going to move